What do you do when the facts have already answered you? And the answer is no. When what you desire seems not merely difficult, but closed, unavailable, beyond your reach. I once had an occasion to test this in a very ordinary way. Two of my brothers, Lawrence and Victor, came to New York. Lawrence especially wanted to see a new production of Aida at the Metropolitan Opera. But when we looked for tickets, the performance was completely sold out. There seemed to be nothing available. I did not tell my brothers to imagine themselves sitting in the theater, nor did I imagine someone canceling or the box office somehow producing 2 seats. Before we left the hotel, I assumed something far simpler and left the means alone. What followed I could never have arranged. And there is another point hidden in this story. The desire was theirs, but the imaginal act was mine. Stay with me, because before we finish, I will show you exactly what I assumed, why I did not try to change the obstacle in imagination, and how you may use the same principle when the desire belongs to someone you care about. During their 2-week visit, I had arranged tickets for many different performances, but Aida was the one Lawrence wanted above all the others. He loved music, and this new production at the Metropolitan Opera was the performance he most hoped to see. The difficulty was not that good seats were hard to find. The production was a complete sellout. The newspapers had announced it, and when we reached the Metropolitan, the signs outside confirmed the same thing. There were no seats for Aida available. Yet I had already told Lawrence, all right, you're going to Aida. My wife, Lawrence, Victor, and I went to the box office that morning. 2 long lines stretched toward the ticket windows. I entered one of them, but it hardly moved. The other began moving more quickly, so I left my place and joined it. Nothing about that small decision appeared important. But when I finally approached the window, I found myself standing directly behind a man who was about to involve me in a completely unexpected incident. And that incident would become the bridge to tickets the world had already declared unavailable. But before we follow that incident to its end, notice what had already happened in imagination. Before leaving the hotel, I had assumed that I possessed the tickets for my brothers. In imagination, I had already given them to Lawrence and Victor. I did not imagine the sold-out signs coming down. I did not picture someone canceling or a clerk suddenly discovering 2 ordinary seats. I accepted an event beyond the obstacle. My brothers had their tickets. Eventually, the line brought me near the ticket window. The man directly ahead of me was buying tickets for another performance. While the clerk's attention was distracted, he handed over less money than he owed and started to leave. The clerk realized the payment was short, and I confirmed what I had seen. The man returned and paid the proper amount. When my turn came, the grateful clerk asked what I wanted. 2 seats for Aida, I answered. The performance was still sold out. Nothing about that fact had changed. But the clerk had access to house seats held in reserve for important guests. Because I had just helped him avoid the loss, he made 2 of those seats available to me. I paid the regular price and gave the tickets to my brothers. Now observe the order. I did not discover a possible route and then become confident. I accepted the end first, and a route appeared that I could never have planned. And notice something else? The wish belonged to Lawrence and Victor, yet the imaginal act was mine. So the question is not only how to go beyond an obstacle, but what you are actually to imagine when the fulfillment belongs to someone else. Begin with the first point. When the facts seem to have closed the door, do not spend your imaginal act trying to reopen it. I did not imagine the sold-out sign disappearing. I did not imagine someone canceling. I went to an experience that belonged after the obstacle had ceased to matter. So when something appears unavailable, rejected, closed, or impossible, ask yourself, if this obstacle were no longer relevant, what would I naturally be experiencing? Suppose you need work and the position you hoped for appears gone. Perhaps the opening has closed or someone else was chosen. Do not imagine the decision being reversed. Go beyond it. Hear a friend congratulate you on the new job or feel yourself returning home after your first day of work. Or suppose the apartment you want is said to be unavailable. Do not imagine the agent changing the answer. Feel your key turning in the door, or hear a friend say how glad they are that you got the place. Do not build the bridge. Go beyond it. Now consider the second point. The desire for Aida belonged to Lawrence and Victor, yet I did not have to become either of them in imagination. I remained myself. From my own point of view, what would naturally be true if their desire were fulfilled? I would have the tickets and I would give them to my brothers. That was enough. You may use imagination in the same way for another person. Suppose your daughter is waiting to hear from a university. You need not imagine yourself as her opening the acceptance letter. Hear her call you and say, I've been accepted. Feel your own happiness as you answer her. Or suppose your brother wants a particular car, only to be told that it has already been sold. You need not become him in imagination or picture the dealer reversing the sale. See your brother pull up in that very car and hear him say, I got it after all. Respond as you naturally would if his desire were already fulfilled. You remain yourself. Their fulfilled desire becomes the reason for what you hear, feel, and experience in imagination. And notice what this removes. You do not need to persuade the other person to imagine correctly. You do not need to know the route or solve the obstacle for them. Choose the small experience that would naturally reach you after fulfillment and give that experience reality in imagination. Once you understand those two movements, the practice becomes very simple. What then is required of you? Do not ask the present condition to tell you whether fulfillment is possible. Decide upon the experience that would naturally belong after the difficulty had been resolved, and give that experience reality in imagination. And if you are imagining for someone you care about, remain yourself. Let their fulfilled desire reach you as it naturally would through their words, their actions, or some evidence you yourself would witness. Then leave the means alone. When I imagined giving the tickets to Lawrence and Victor, I did not know what would happen at the box office. I did not need to know. The end was accepted first, and the bridge revealed itself afterward. So do not return to the present evidence and ask it how your imaginal act can become true. Accept the fulfillment and allow the way to remain unknown. Now, let us go into the silence